I have the pleasure of saying that no organization is any stronger than its partners or its sponsors. And luckily for us, we have had the strongest partners and the strongest sponsors that you could possibly have. And it's my pleasure to, these are not all our partners and sponsors, but these are some among our strongest that we have with us this morning. But right now, I would like to introduce to you, and we're going to have a few minutes with the Lieutenant Governor, and it's my pleasure to introduce him, Governor Bryant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do I need that microphone? All right, all right. Well, I'm used to speaking off the back of flatbed trucks, so thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here in the Delta this morning. I hope all of you know I was born here in Morehead, Mississippi, just down the road. So I grew up with my two older brothers. As we were talking the other night, I said the thing that used to aggravate me is we were walking across those cotton fields that my brothers were old enough to go from row to row, and my legs weren't long enough. So I would have to go one down one row and up the other to keep up with them. But we understood the value of that land. You see, that's what sustained life for our family. It was no less important than that. And as I sit here today and think about the economic impact of farming in the Delta, you know more than anybody just how important it is. It's $1 billion a year industry. Now, we talk about bringing $1 billion industry to Mississippi. My goodness, we do backflips. We in the legislature think, is there incentive money that we can put together? Can we bring a package that might lure this company here? They're going to be a $1 billion industry. Every year, agriculture produces $1 billion. 25,000 employees work in the agricultural business. That's how important it is to the state of Mississippi, and I fear that we oftentimes overlook that. Now, I love Toyota. I love Nissan. The governor's done a fantastic job of luring industry to the state of Mississippi. But I love agriculture. And it seems since Hugh White, we've been talking about a balance. And then it was balancing industry and agriculture. And we need to continue that concept. And that's why it's so important to be here today for this 1 millionth acre. And I was trying to get in my mind what 1 million acres looks like. That'd be a pretty good sized farm for anybody. I was talking to a guy down at Chevron the other day, and I said, just what is 1 million barrels of oil? And he said, well, if you took a football field from one goalpost to the next and filled it up, it would be about 1 mile deep. That's how big 1 million barrels of oil can be. So we can only imagine 1 million acres. I think it's 40%, Mike, is what I've heard, that is now in this program, Delta Farm program. You should be very proud of yourselves. And as I hear the environmentalists talk about how we're destroying the land, how we're overusing it, not taking care of it, I have to just smile. They do not know that this land, as it did with my family, means life to you and to your children. So at the end of our days, those of you that farm, I have a feeling, would want to look at your children and say, I am turning over to you the farm, this land, this terra that means so much to us. And I've done my very best to leave it better than when I found it. Clean water, land that will grow crops here in the Delta for generations to come. So Mississippi will continue to be that beacon around the United States, and Delta Farm will be the example for all others to try to achieve. So that we know that when we leave this world, when those of you that grow and produce, can say it is now much better than it was. And thank goodness I was a part of the program that helped sustain this land for future generations. Because I worry that someday only big companies will run farms, and that young men will not come out of Mississippi State or other agricultural schools with that passion to find that small farm and go to work. If he does, and when he does, we want to have that land available, and this program is going to help do that. I want to thank the sponsors, Trey. I told them this morning as we were having breakfast, we really couldn't do this without you, and we can't. This is so important to the state of Mississippi, and I pledge to you today as Lieutenant Governor, we're going to do all that we can to be your partner. It is a lesson that we should learn. Perhaps there are more conservation steps that should be taken in government to watch our budget, and we will look to Delta Farm to lead the way. Thank you for having me this morning. God bless you all.
Thank you, Governor. Wonderful, wonderful remarks. I introduced Jimmy Palmer a little while ago, and I want you to know that being the administrator of Region 4 of EPA, it's not easy to arrange your schedule to get back home to Mississippi to give a talk to a small group of hard-headed farmers. But Jimmy has done that, and it only typifies his allegiance to us. And we have never had a better friend, and we'll never have a better friend. Jimmy Palmer.
Indeed, it is always a great day for me when I can come home for whatever event. But this is a very special coming home event because, as Billy said, I was there in the beginning. It wasn't long after I was appointed DEQ Executive Director that my phone rang one day, and the party on the other end said, "Can I come talk with you about an idea that several of us have about dealing with nutrients and sediment runoff?" I said, "Sure, come on." From that conversation, over 8 or 9 months, Delta Farm emerged. And now 10 years later, here we are, celebrating the 1,000,000th acre that has been enrolled. If there is one thing, people, one thing that you remember today from what I've said, it is this: those who say it can't be done are often interrupted by somebody doing it. You have done it. In the beginning, when we talked about 161,000 acres or so, folks were somewhat aghast. You got to be kidding me. And the landowners are going to do this? Well, let me tell you something, folks. You have proved them wrong in a great, great way. There are only 2 organizations like this in the 8 states of EPA Region 4, which is the largest of the 10 EPA regions. This one is by far the biggest. It has been the most ambitious. The other, sort of the little brother, but they're doing great things as well, is the Suwannee River Partnership in Florida. But the geography of that partnership is just the middle reach of the river. It doesn't get up into the headwaters in Georgia. It does not get down into salt water. And they are doing good things. But I have, over 7 years now, lifted up these 2 organizations, especially this one, as my example of what can be done when we focus on the people at ground level who feed us and they clothe us and they sustain that over years and years, and like the governor said, on into the next generations. Agriculture in the Southeast is huge. It is huge, and it will continue to be huge, I hope, on into the future. There are difficult times, though, for those of you in production agriculture, and you know that. As we're dealing with, at the national level, with things like arsenicals and other chemicals that some folks simply want to say, stop using them, just quit. My question is, okay, if we quit, what do you have to substitute to help those who use these chemicals prudently to keep us where we need to be competitively? And let me tell you something, I don't get answers from those who have a lot of questions and criticism, but not answers. My point is this: the very best way I know, and I learned it here at home over all those years at DEQ, the best way to find solutions is to go to the people that are confronting the issues. And there you are. You sit down with them, not with a baseball bat in your hand, but you sit down with them in a spirit of collaboration and say, we have a problem. How can we solve the problem? And there you are again. Because to your great credit, and the millionth acre will continue to grow and grow and grow into many more. That's where we have found solutions. And I hope who comes after me, now that we have a new administration coming in, I just hope that they will, certainly at the regional level, put as much emphasis and focus and dollars as I have been privileged to invest in these last 7 years. It must be done. There's where we need you to stand up, not only for what you're doing here in the Delta, but stand up for agriculture in general and push for the next administration to continue to do what we've attempted to do, not only in this administration, but there's some good things that were started in the previous administration. That's where I leave it with you. It's been my privilege to work with all of you, not only in Delta Farm, but in other areas where you are investing your time and your dollars. I appreciate it. Congratulations for getting to this milestone, and I very much appreciate your effort, and I will stay there supporting you until noon on January the 20th when I turn into a pumpkin along with my boss, George Bush. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. As usual, those were wonderful remarks. Before we do our last segment, I would obviously be remiss if I did not introduce to you, as if you didn't already know him, the executive director of Delta Farm, who, had it not been for his hard work and imagination, we wouldn't be sitting here today. We would be right back where we started with no acres signed in and none of our good work done. This is not part of my script, which he wrote for me, so I had to find a spot in this program to put it in. But I think we all need to give Trey Cook a wonderful hand. The last thing we're going to do, Rex Martin with Syngenta has a presentation to make.
Good morning. It is my company's great honor and privilege to be here today. Syngenta is a world-leading agribusiness company that's committed to sustainable agriculture through innovative research and technology. 10 years ago, I remember sitting down with Billy, and he had this vision and this concept that was just frankly unheard of at the time. The goal was to catch farmers doing the right thing, to give them the resources to raise their environmental and conservation awareness and implementation. And I remember when they asked Syngenta to be a founding partner, that the goal of 200,000 acres enrolled seemed a bit pie in the sky to me. However, with the great leadership of the Delta Farm staff, board, and members, we now stand here united with 1 million acres under the program's belt. Mike, in honor of this monumental event, Syngenta has commissioned a special commemorative painting by Matthew Hastings entitled Delta Moon. We hope that it best represents land stewardship commitments of Delta Farmers Advocating Resource Management, Delta Farm. Mike, we are proud to be a partner and a sponsor of Delta Farm. And as I remember Will Rogers saying, it's okay to look back as long as you don't get caught staring. We've got 1 million acres under our belt, and I look forward to that next 1 million acres.
Thank you, Rick. Let's get over the sides, Rick.
That's good. That concludes the program this morning. We obviously thank y'all very much for being here, and we couldn't have done it without you.